So, picture this. You walk into a pharmacy, hand over your hard-earned cash, and pay a whopping 1,000 rupees for a medication you absolutely need. But what if I told you that exact same pill only cost 100 rupees to make? Yeah, that is a crazy 900% markup. And the wildest part? It's happening right now, completely crushing patients who are already dealing with serious health crises.
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive crackdown led by the Maharashtra Food and Drug Administration. We're going to look closely at how regulators are finally stepping up to dismantle hospital monopolies, crush those exorbitant drug prices we just talked about, and fix critical safety gaps so the medicine you take actually, heals you.
Here's the roadmap for what we're covering today. First, the price of healing. Next, breaking pharmacy monopolies. Then, upgrading manufacturing standards. And finally, fighting antimicrobial resistance. Let's get to it.
Part 1. The price of healing. Following some serious pushback from civil society and NGOs, the FDA is turning its crosshairs directly on the sheer cost of medication on the market.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're dealing with. FDA Commissioner Tukaram Mundhe is framing this not as some boring paperwork issue, but as a deep moral one. His stance is pretty clear. Just having technical compliance on a price tag, it's not enough. Extreme markups are fundamentally unethical. When a 100 rupee product is sold for $1,000, it literally stops being healthcare and starts being outright exploitation.
But hey, the state FDA isn't fighting this battle alone. Enter the NPPA. That's the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, basically India's apex watchdog for drug prices. Right now, the Maharashtra FDA is gathering a mountain of data on these extreme price discrepancies. Once they compile it all, they're taking this evidence straight to the NPPA to force nationwide action. It's actually a lot like the aggressive intervention we saw a while back that finally capped the prices of cardiac stents.
Section 2. Breaking pharmacy monopolies. Because, let's be real, the cost of a drug is one thing, but where you're actually allowed to buy it is a whole different ballgame.
Let me ask you, have you ever been in this situation? You have a loved one admitted to the hospital, you're handed a prescription, and then you're told you absolutely must buy your medicines from the hospital's internal pharmacy? Aside from the terrible hospital food, feeling entirely trapped by a hospital monopoly is honestly one of the most stressful parts of being admitted.
So the crucial point here is the contrast between the old illegal practice and the newly enforced rules. It is entirely illegal for hospitals to strong-arm you into in-house medicine purchases. Period. The current rules guarantee your absolute right to buy your medicines from any legally registered pharmacy. Whether that's the shiny one inside the hospital lobby or just the mom-and-pop shop down your street, it is 100% your choice.
And this isn't just an empty threat on paper. When hospitals failed to comply in Nagpur, Pune, Mumbai, and Solapur, they faced severe, real-world consequences from the FDA. This momentum is finally forcing hospitals to respect patient choice, and authorities are actually reporting a massive shift in compliance all across the state. It's a real game changer. Moving on to Section 3. Upgrading manufacturing standards. Now, let's zoom out from the hospital checkout counter and look at where these drugs are actually made. Because, well, a fairly priced drug is absolutely useless if it isn't safe.
The absolute baseline standard the FDA expects here is GMP, which stands for Good Manufacturing Practice. Regulators are cracking down hard, enforcing the mandate that every single manufacturing unit must operate precisely to World Health Organization norms. There is no wiggle room here. These standards are totally non-negotiable.
Now, what's really interesting about the FDA's proactive approach is how they are actively hunting down bad batches. Through some seriously rigorous audits and surprise, unannounced surveys, they are tracking down drugs that get labeled as not of standard quality or NSQ. And they aren't just slapping wrists or issuing warnings. They are ordering immediate, widespread recalls to pull dangerous products completely off the shelves before they ever reach patients.
But to stop those NSQs from happening in the first place, manufacturing units are now required to strictly implement what's called HACP. That stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. Basically, it's a highly systematic, preventative approach to safety. The entire goal here is to carefully catch and eliminate any potential hazards in the manufacturing process long before a pill is ever packaged.
To thoroughly upgrade that whole supply chain, the FDA is really layering their defenses. First, they're aggressively enforcing those strict HACCP protocols and securing packaging to block spurious, counterfeit medicines. Add in stringent temperature controls, which by the way are absolutely vital for keeping drugs physically effective, alongside tightened testing standards and fresh standard operating procedures, and you basically have a completely modernized safety net. They're even extending these strict operations to heavily monitor blood centers too.
Which brings us to our fourth and final section, fighting antimicrobial resistance. This is a massive global public health threat, and it demands immediate behavioral change from both pharmacies and us as citizens.
The FDA has drawn a very hard line here. Pharmacists selling prescription drugs without a valid prescription is strictly prohibited. No exceptions. They are aggressively targeting the careless distribution of antibiotics. And get this, they are already actively suspending the licenses of pharmacists caught breaking this law.
So why this massive crackdown? Well, because popping an unprescribed antibiotic might give you a temporary, immediate cure for a minor ailment, but it actively fuels a dangerous long-term crisis, antimicrobial resistance. As bacteria evolve and adapt to these improperly used drugs, our antibiotics simply stop working. That means highly treatable, common infections can very quickly turn deadly. It's a huge deal.
Look, managing over 150,000 license holders across manufacturing and pharmacies is a gigantic task. But the FDA is totally unyielding here. When talking about lawbreakers, Commissioner Mundhe stated fiercely, there is no place for them to hide on the earth. The overarching goal here is to create a culture where compliance is just the absolute norm, enacted without fear or favor to protect public health.
Regulators are definitely doing their part to enforce the law, but a truly safe healthcare system requires action from all of us. So I'll leave you with this. How vigilant are you about the medicines you consume and the prescriptions you demand? The next time you visit a hospital or a local pharmacy, remember your rights, check those labels, and be an active participant in your own healthcare journey. Thanks for joining this explainer, and stay safe out there.